Hey YouTube, Kamen Rider here. Welcome to my review for episode 44 of Kamen Rider Gavv. Wait, I think this is 45. 45, I'm pretty sure. So this was a pretty solid episode. It was kind of a quieter episode in a way, but it did have stuff going on that feels much more at home in the final stretch of episodes. We do have this, like payoff of this stuff with Sachika and Lakia a little bit. They've been seeding this story throughout for a little while now. I wasn't sure what they were going for with it because they had a couple moments with Lakia, wondering like what's going to happen when Sachika found out like what he was really like. We had that moment of her seeing him use his tentacle powers, and I remember thinking like, okay, what are they doing with this? And I couldn't remember whether she knew or not like the extent of what he did back in the day. Like, if she knew he was the one that did all the disappearances in the theaters and stuff, because it's been so long. And something I really do like about the series is the connection between the core four characters. It feels really grounded and real, kind of a stark contrast to how I felt about Go Juju this week. I know the characters on that show aren't supposed to be super tight yet, but there's these moments that are supposed to feel kind of emotional, and all the character quote-unquote bonds in that feel really hollow, whereas I really feel the connection. They don't feel like just frivolous Toku characters, they feel like actual characters. So I really do like that, and I think there was some really nice moments between the two of them. Nice moments of when she finds out what he can do, kind of her being taken aback, and then her seeing him like selflessly sacrificing himself to help save civilians, and it was really nice, but it also just felt weirdly placed. I don't mean that in the sense that it came out of nowhere, because again, they've been building towards it. But once we got this episode, it felt like this should have happened like way back a long time ago, just because Lakia's whole redemption and everything, and that whole storyline feels forever ago. I mean, if Honto, like Mr. Honto, I used to hate Granute so much, whatever his last name is forgiving him, I think it's fine. Like, I don't even know why it was a debate in a sense. Like, again, it was nice. It just, at the end of the day, once we finally got to it, I felt like this should have been something that maybe happened a little bit earlier on, because I feel like we've already gone through these beats with both Shouma and Honto and Lakia himself to a degree until he started bringing it up. So it's not that I didn't like it, I just felt that it should have been placed earlier in the series. But the main thing that comes up is the very beginning of the episode, when you have Neville approaching Shouma, basically with a very classic ultimatum that we've seen heroes been given in multiple mediums of like, hey, I want you to take charge of the Stomach family and help out the president and his evil daughter. And this is something you've seen in fiction time and time again, you know, the idea of a hero taking up a mantle, you know, or wielding a company or something for good. You know, when Wolfram and Hart gave Angel a branch in season 5, that's a random reference because there's so many other ones that people will probably remember. But you know what I mean. It's a very classic dilemma, but it's very interesting. Neville's obviously playing some sort of angle. I'll be curious to see where this goes. I do like the idea of the ultimatum being, hey, if you're in charge, you can shut down all the negative stuff, and then we can stop the evil. We'll close the portal to Earth, and Earth will be safe. And he ultimately does choose that at the end. And obviously, we still have a handful of episodes to go, so I don't think this dilemma is going to be Shouma's dilemma through the finale, but it's an interesting one, and I'm curious to see how it plays out. It did make me think of two things, though. Like I've talked about all throughout the series, it's interesting that we haven't really had any sort of hints at redemption or anything for any of his family. I feel like in any other Rider series, at least most of them would be redeemed. And there might be something of that at the end, who knows? We still got time, we still got probably a bunch of DLC V cinemas. But that hasn't really been the case. They've been antagonists. Shouma hasn't hesitated to take them out, whether he actually did or not. Like, you know, with Longo still kicking around, get it? Because I think he was Rider kicked. Anyway, point is it made me think if they were going to do a storyline about that, about bringing Shouma closer to his siblings, this would have been interesting for a story that would have had to pop up earlier on, where basically them dealing with the president would have led to them being ousted from their operation and their world, and maybe would have had to reunite with Shouma, or unite with Shouma rather, and then that maybe would have brought them closer together. That could have been an interesting story. Also, this would have made for a really interesting debate dilemma for a bittersweet ending. I was thinking actually earlier this week about how Rider series used to have strange or bittersweet endings compared to Sentai usually wrapping things up neatly, and Rider nowadays much more does wrap things up neatly. But the idea of Shouma leaving at the end of the series to keep the world safe by closing it off, and then probably opening it back up in a V-cinema or movie, but that could have made for an interesting and bittersweet, memorable finale. But I'll be curious to see where this plays out now, because I'd be shocked if this dilemma takes us through the final episode. But yeah, I thought it was a solid episode, felt more at home in the finale. I do really hope, though, we start picking up the pace where I feel like this is an episode in the final arc. So let me know what you guys thought of the episode in the comments as always. Until next time, Kamen Rider signing out.